Hello and welcome to The Last Tackle. It's Magic Weekend. We're all going to Newcastle. We couldn't afford Ant and Dec, so we've got these two instead, Kev Brown and Paul Sculthorpe. Gents, thanks for coming in. Kev, you're going to be at Magic. How good is it?
I love it. It's you feel a bit of a fraud as a player because it's like a final without doing anything to get there. So Scully's been in a lot of finals, so he knows what it feels like. But
cracking atmosphere, isn't it?
It's brilliant. I think ever since they brought it in, it's really worked. The fans get on. I think that's one thing that our sport has got over a lot of others. How everyone gets on. It's a party. A lot of stag do's, and as players, it's such a great atmosphere.
Yeah, fantastic, and like I say, you know, up in Newcastle as well. What a city. Great atmosphere, and like Kev says, you know, for those players in some of the clubs who don't make them finals, it's like that final occasion, you know, playing in front of big crowds, and obviously with all 12 teams playing in one city over the weekend is fantastic. Yeah,
really looking forward to it. We'll talk Magic Weekend very, very shortly, but Tony Smith won't be there, or at least as a Hull KR coach, he won't be there. Well, I suppose once he announced he was leaving, and only 1 in 8.
Once you announce you're leaving for the reasons that he said he was leaving for, I think it's very difficult to carry on. Obviously, there's different of opinions behind the scenes there, and when, you know, the form has nosedived since, you know, his departure became public, then I think it's the right decision.
Playoffs last year as well, so they went into his season with a lot of hope at Hull KR, didn't they?
And I think as a fan, you're scratching your head and you're really disappointed because you think everything was going like that. The crowds, they were selling out. I think they sold out twice on the back this year. Yeah. But then, since Tony said he's leaving, it happens quite a lot. When the coach isn't invested and they're the year after, the players sort of minds wander a little bit, and that's been the case.
Yeah, I don't get this about announcing coaches or players signing for other clubs or leaving clubs halfway through seasons. I just think it causes so much unrest, and you know, Tony's obviously done a great job at Hull KR, but the form has nosedived, as Kev says, and they need something to change, and that's probably the easiest decision. And how often, you know, we maybe see it this weekend, it's the Hull derby at Magic, and Danny Maggs is obviously taking control there at Rovers now, and you know, maybe that's the impetus they need.
Obviously, Willie Peters coming in the autumn, but this is a huge opportunity for Danny Maguire, isn't it?
It is, you know, Danny's.
We all know he's a great player, good lad,
very, very smart player, very good lad, and you know, he's earned his stripes in you know, as an assistant coach. So, you know, he'll thrive off taking responsibility now for how long it may be to the, you know, back end of the season, and then I'm sure, you know, working with Willie Peters at another halfback. Yeah,
well, and they're facing Hull FC, who themselves have got their own problems. I think they've had 3 suspended. They've had 3 come in this week from different clubs. So in terms of Hull KR, they probably not face it, or they're facing their arch rival at the best possible time.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's talk about round 17. So 10 to go. Castleford, Huddersfield. Castleford won 26-18. That's Huddersfield's first defeat since a Challenge Cup final.
Well, yeah, and fair play to Castleford. The big disappointment out of that's Jake TRUEMAN. He was playing, he obviously scored a great try, but then he's out for the season, and it's been, like Scully says, they've
joining Hull.
Yeah, they've timed that perfect, haven't they? He's got injured right, you can have him. But yeah, what a performance. I think Lee Radford is really getting to grips with this team now. They're performing, and probably beat the most consistent side in Super League in Huddersfield.
Hull Leeds. Look, obviously, they need some consistency, but this is a huge result for Leeds, isn't it? I mean, 62-16.
It's a massive result for Leeds, isn't it? You know, to score that points. I think that's Hanley scoring 5, and he's been outstanding for them this year in a tough season. But Hull, I mean, I was following this game on social media. I think with 30 minutes to go, there wasn't that much in it.
Yeah, it was 10-12 Leeds after 30 minutes.
To see 62 points posted, you know, against a team who we talk about year in, year out, can they compete for trophies, silverware, and you look at some of the players they've got, they shouldn't be getting 62 points put past them.
Well, yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's the disappointment. You can lose a game and be disappointed, but when you lose at home in the manner and missing so many tackles, some of the tries Ash Hanley scored, they were one-on-one misses, and if you're a player, you've got to have a little bit more pride about defending your line, especially at home. And I'm sure Brett Hodgson's really, you know, putting that to him this week, that it's not about losing the game, it's about the manner that they got beat.
Scully, got to ask you about Catalans versus St Helens and a defeat for Saints in south of France.
Yeah, I thought it was a great game by, you know, 2 of the best sides in Super League. You know, Saints got off to a flyer. 8-0 up, but fair play to Catalan. You know, they kept playing. It was quite an intense game. You know, a very, very physical game. You know, Saints probably didn't take some chances, and I think a big loss for them was Tommy MAKINSON going off. You know, on that right edge. I think 3 of the 4 Catalan tries coming down that right edge. You know, sometimes when you're moving centres into wing and then, you know, back rowers into centre, it's a real specialised position to defend, and I think Saints maybe got caught out in that. I know a lot was mentioned about the goal kicking as well, but Catalan only scored one more than Saints, and you know they are a bonus. But I thought a great game.
Steve McManara must be delighted, because the week before he was furious with them for throwing it away against Cass.
Yeah, and that's the response you need, beating the champions, the best team in the league. But I just feel Saints are a bit busted, they're creaking a little bit. The intensity that they've played at through this season, it just seems like it's taking its toll, and it's coming to all the strike players, Tommy MAKINSON, William Opawata, and the pressure that's put on Wellesby and Lomax, and they're still standing up and really performing, but they're almost carrying that burden for the full attack now.
Toulouse, Hull KR, obviously we've spoken about Tony Smith. Now Toulouse, that's a big win. They've got Wakefield at Magic this weekend, and then they've got Leeds, Salford and Hull all on a bounce to go to France. Can Toulouse get out of this?
Well, I'd be worried if I were Wakefield. They conceded 120 points in 2 games. It's a frightening start. And then on the flip side, you've got Corey Norman, who's come in and now he's fit. I watched some of the highlights from that game, and a sign of a real good player. They were stacking numbers on him, and he was calling the ball away. So Tony Guijo's played probably the best I've seen him play in a Toulouse shirt, and that's on the back of that combination. So they're looking red hot.
Huge game, man, isn't it?
It's a massive game. You know, there's only 4 points between them two at the bottom. And Toulouse, you look at their games throughout the year. I think they've only won 3 games, but you look at some of the games that they've been in have not been a lot of points difference. And I think they've put up a real show this year. And as Kev said, you know, Wakey are leaking some points at the moment.
What about Wigan then? Just 2 points behind Saints now.
Yeah, and you've got to say that Field and French, they've just been so consistent. Some of the tries they've scored, every week they seem like they've got a try of the year contender.
It's more like the old Wigan now, isn't it?
Well, it's brilliant. They're still brutal. They're still brutal in defence, but they've got this attacking flair. And if it's not French and Field, you've got Marshall on the other side, you've got Farrell and Bateman who are back in form, and it just looks a place that I think they're in a good spot, ready for a good tilt at this time.
I think another player, Kai Pearce-Paul as well, on that left edge. You know, I thought he was outstanding last week at Wakefield, and you know,
like
you look at French and Field, they're just such a threat all over the field. You know, you look at Bevan French's try against Wakefield. You know, they can't lay a glove on him, and there is no substitute for pace. It's something you cannot give people.
And finally, 2 of your old clubs, Kev, Warrington, Salford. Salford, that's 2 wins on the bounce, but let's talk Warrington. What's that, 1 in 7?
Yeah, and they just look mentally fatigued and broken. I think they were 22 points to 8 up in this game and just couldn't shut it out. And Salford are a fantastic attacking side, but at home, when you're winning 22 points to 8, I think it just shows the fragile nature of what they've got.
Just put them under a bit of pressure.
Or just keep hold of the ball and kick to the corners and defend your way to victory. I think, you know, they've won that game there and somehow found a loss out of it.
I just think Warrington, you know, I looked to watch the highlights of that game, and they look like 17 individuals who don't know what each other is doing. And some of the tries that Salford scored, you know, some of the efforts, the broken defensive line of Warrington, there's just no unity between them.
So what does Darryl Powell do? Start building for next year?
Everyone keeps talking about Darryl Powell and when's he going to change things. You know, he was brought in to win trophies and stuff. Sometimes the players have got to take responsibility. You know, Darryl's no doubt trying to change things, but players have got to buy into it. And for me, some of the tries and some of the things that they're doing in games is a lack of effort, a lack of desire. That's not something Darryl can do for them on the field.
I think there's a bit of, well, completely agree, but then I think some of the players who are out of form are also trying a little bit too hard with the ball in hand. And I've been there myself. The first year I went to Warrington, it was when you stop thinking or you start thinking too much about how you're going to play rather than playing your instincts.
So what, feeling the pressure too much?
Feeling the pressure, taking the pressure a bit on, trying too hard to get yourself out of this mess and not actually sticking to the process. And I completely agree with Scully. Some of the defensive efforts, that's not the coach. Darryl Powell's a very good coach, but to get your body in front, that's a personal responsibility.
That is round 17. Round 18 is Magic Weekend. You're watching the Sportsman the home of Rugby League.
Don't miss a thing from the new home of Rugby League online.
Follow the Sportsman on social media
and follow their YouTube channel for exclusive content.
And we'll have some details of some more stream games very, very shortly. Right, Magic Weekend kicks off with this huge game, 2:30 on Saturday, Wakefield versus Toulouse. Well, Wakefield have got to win. Toulouse win it, and it's really interesting. They've got 3 home games on the bounce.
It's such an important game, isn't it? Like, you know, bottom of the table, only 4 points, as we said, between the two sides, and you know, you'd like to think that whoever wins that game, you know, is certainly, if it's Wakefield, you know, pushing themselves 6 points clear of Toulouse. But it's, you know, you've got, for me, I fancy Toulouse in this game. Just the confidence that they're playing with at the moment, you know, their effort-based stuff. You know, and then you look at Wakefield's defence in recent weeks.
I completely agree. I think Wakefield have almost been safe, haven't they, at one point? They only had to have a mediocre consistency, win 1 in 3 or 1 in 4, and they'd have been fine, but they've been poor, and the way they're leaking points is a real worry. So I fancy Toulouse.
Well, it's been a torrid few weeks for Wakefield. Let's hear from their captain, Jacob Miller.
And opportunities to put it right, coming thick and fast, of course. A Magic Weekend round the corner. During your time in the European game, the Northern Hemisphere game, is this one of the things that you've really enjoyed being part of?
Yeah, I think all the players love the Magic Weekend. It's one you look at the calendar at the start of the year and find out where it's at and what the venue is and who you've got, and what the plan is for the weekend. And it's such a great experience for both the players and the fans. And yeah, looking forward to it this year.
And a massive game, obviously, against Toulouse in terms of being able to put some distance between yourselves and them. Is that something that you'll talk about in the week, or will it try and be, you know, business as normal as if you're playing anyone else?
Yeah, there'll be probably a little bit of added focus and things said during the week. But I think you've got to also not hype it up too much. You know, it is another game. We've got to worry about, you know, getting ourselves right and focusing on ourselves before we, you know, worry too much about the game.
Jacob Miller talking to Lewis Smith, opportunity to put it right. That's what Lewis put to him. Right then, St Helens versus Wigan next on Saturday at 4:45. I'm not going to bother asking Scully. Right, come on. St Helens, Wigan.
It's probably the first time I've thought Wigan are the favourites. I think they're playing really good. I think CARRIE Paul coming back's like a new signing for them. I just feel that they're healthy. And Saints aren't. They're busted, they're losing the key players. They lost the game last week and they lost against Wigan the last time out, so I just fancy Wigan in this one.
And obviously a huge incentive as well, isn't it, for Wigan? They won't go top because of a point difference, but they'll go level on points with Saints. And
it's the psychological side. At the start of the year, I don't think anyone, even them Wigan lads, didn't think they were on a level par with St Helens, but gradually Matty Peach built that culture and they're clawing back at Saints. And if they're not, just in front, then they're definitely edging closer.
Go on, Saints TV.
I can't believe you did. Ask me, Mark. I've got to agree with Kev. I think Wigan are going to come into this game very, very confident. You know, he said there is a few issues. We said obviously coming off a defeat at Catalan, a few injuries to key players. And don't forget, Wigan won the last game between these two sides in the Challenge Cup semi-final. So Wigan are going to go into it confident. I've said all along, I can't say Wigan are going to win.
No, you can't.
But I think it'll be very, very, very close and go either way.
Well, let's hear from the Wigan camp and hear from Sam Powell.
Yeah, the game is a massive game in itself, and the fans are always going to turn up and be loud for this one. But I think to then add it to a Magic Weekend and put it at St James, where it's really special, is just adds a bit of spice to it. They've been the benchmark for the last few years now, St Helens, and we're constantly trying to close that gap a little bit, and it's something we strive for every day. And with the results on the weekend, it's opened things up a little bit, and yeah, it's only another 2 points, but it's one that we want to go and get. Expecting for them to bounce back, and well, not bounce back. I think they played a good game over there, to be honest, and that was two good teams over there going at it. So probably pretty much similar to how they performed over there. they're a great team, and I know they definitely won't want to go back-to-back losses. So, and we definitely want to try and put our best foot forward and get a win.
It's not just 2 points, though, is it, Scully?
No, it's far more than that. And these are games where you can literally throw the phone book out the window anyway. It's all about the 80 minutes, and it's as an intense a game as you'll get, you know, between Saints and Wigan. And one I'm really looking forward to, because it's a bit of an unknown, as you said, going into that. Saints have been the best side for the past 2 or 3 years, but Wigan will fancy themselves.
And finishing us off on Saturday night, Leeds versus Cass. Of course, Leeds coming to this great win over Hull, and Cass got a good win over the weekend as well. Leeds Cass.
Yeah, I'd have fancied Cass in this one. I just feel Jake Trueman's absence, he's massive for Cass. Any halfback's massive, but Jake Trueman for Castleford this year, his form has started to really impress and pick up, and I just feel without him, I think Rowan Smith's had a little bit of time now. They looked really good, didn't they, last week against Hull Leeds? So I'd just probably fancy Leeds in this one.
Well, let's hear from the Cass camp. Very in good form. Let's hear from Joe Westerman.
Yeah, we're happy. We're happy that we're in that 6, but obviously we'd like to be further up. I think if you have any team apart from you, Saints who are at top, you want to be at top in that as high as you can. But I'd like to think the last 2 games have showed a bit of rebuilding what we were asking for, if you know what I mean. We've bought into a lot of things the last 2 weeks, the effort wise, the turning up for each other, and I think that leading up, if we keep building on that and we keep doing what's asked of us and the little things that people don't see, I think that we'll move up that table, and like you say, we have looked above us. We have looked above us after that win, and we know a win at Huddersfield this week puts us in good stead again. So yeah, we just need to keep building, and I think table takes toll of itself. Especially in playoffs, if you're finishing 5, 6, 5, 4, you only need a couple of wins and you're at that grand final. So we're just looking to keep building and getting us way up that table and winning as many games as we can.
Well, Scully, that win at the weekend, 5th above Hull now, Cass.
Yeah, the thing I like best about Cass was the resilience on defence. And Wesley spoke about it there. You know, they're working for each other, they're pushing for each other, and it's obviously something that Lee Radford's, you know, has instilled in them. You know, they've won the last 3 games. Big test for them this week against Leeds, because I think if both teams are at their best, I think Leeds win. And certainly without Jacob Trueman on attack for Castleford. But for me, Leeds still...
I don't think we know where Leeds are at, do we?
No, that's what I was just going to say. Great win this week, but still inconsistent.
So that's Leeds Cass. That finishes off Saturday night. Then get to bed, a couple of shandies maybe, and then get up Huddersfield versus Salford, 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's a real good test for Salford to see where they're actually at. They've obviously
2 good wins on the bounce.
2 great wins. They beat Wakefield, who we've mentioned before, a little bit defensively fragile. Warrington, mentally fragile. So now they're going to come into a team in Huddersfield who are going to want to bounce back from the defeat at Castleford. And for me, Ian Watson will know everything that Paul Rowley, because they've worked together.
It's like the Ian Watson derby, isn't it?
It's a fascinating battle, but I think Paul Rowley will have a few tricks up his sleeve for Watt or 2.
And talking of Ian Watson, Coach of the Month for June. They went on that great run after that defeat in the Challenge Cup. They were so unlucky in the Challenge Cup as well. Ian Watson is doing a brilliant job at Huddersfield. He
has. He's done a great job, hasn't he? He's brought in some good players. Players who he's worked with before, like Luke Yates. And, you know, I think they've been outstanding. They'll be disappointed with that loss against Cass last week. You know, they come into the game, you know, on real good form. You know, kind of fought the way back into it, and I think he'll like the way that the game finished and showing that resilient fight. But disappointed to get the loss and looking to bounce back this week with a big performance. But Salford, I enjoy watching them because you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, no, they've been good to watch. Plenty of points the last couple of games as well. Let's hear from their camp and Callum Watkins.
A magic weekend on the horizon as well. Is it always special to get up to Newcastle and play in that kind of environment?
yeah, I love it. I think it's great for the game. I think it's a fantastic event for all fans, everyone that supports Rugby League, and it is a special weekend for everybody involved. So yeah, it's always great to be in Newcastle, especially the Magic weekend, and we're coming with obviously a massive game against Huddersfield, who are riding high at the minute and playing really well. So you know, if we can come and get a good result, obviously they'll see how they go at the weekend. It should prove into a fantastic game, you know, building up to that.
So that's Salford. They kick us off against Huddersfield, 1 o'clock Sunday. Then at 3:15 on Sunday, Catalans versus Warrington. I don't know if you're Warrington, you don't want this, do you?
It's a massive challenge for Warrington, isn't it, in the current position that they're in. And certainly Catalan, coming up against Catalan after them beating St Helens. Catalan will certainly go into this favourites, but you know, if ever there's a time to turn your season around, it's in a game like this against somebody you're expected to lose. And
at Newcastle, could that be a bonus that they're not playing at home as well?
I think that's a bit of a burden at the minute, if I'm honest, playing at the Halliwell Jones Stadium in Warrington. A lot of the fact that the last try that Salford scored, you could hear the boos already before they went in. So there is an expectation that I just feel Catalans are too big up the middle. I think that's one area. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on at the club, but I think you can see by the recruitment for next year, they believe that themselves. And I just think Steamac will have a plan to send them big boys, who they've signed for next year, Warrington, by the way, to go after that middle.
Well, it's just 1 win in 7 for Warrington. Can they turn it around? Let's get the thoughts of George Williams.
Yeah, it's unreal. I've been fortunate to play a couple of times, and every time you come, it's still great to look at, and yeah, can't wait for the weekend. I think it's just obviously every team, every club coming together as one, and obviously Rugby League, it's a family sport, and you see every crowd, every different shirt all mingled in together, and when you walk out, it's always a great atmosphere. So yeah, as players, it's one of the fixtures we really look forward to, and yeah, it's a great day for the fans too. Yeah, massive. Look, we've been searching for a while to find an 80-minute performance, and we're still looking for that. So hopefully we can. Obviously, we've been working hard every week in training, but we need to deliver on the pitch now, and hopefully we can do that starting here. Yeah, look, it's got some big bodies and some classy backs on the edges. So yeah, we've got like I said, a big job in our hands. Obviously, Mitchell Pearce, Sam, a massive for him. Mickey, I can name a few. But yeah, we've got a job in our hands, mate. But we've got to focus on ourselves as well. 80 minutes of our best and see where we go.
George Williams, he's just said, Kev, they need to deliver on the pitch.
They do, and the pressure will be on, but I think there is a lot of big name players there, George being one of the biggest, and I think if he can get back to anywhere near the form, then Warrington have a chance.
Right, Sunday we finish with a Hull derby. Hull KR, we've spoken about them already, and Tony Smith being stood down versus Hull. Well, this is just huge for both of them, isn't it?
It's a massive game, isn't it? You know, very much like the Saints Wigan, you can pretty much throw the phone book out the window, and there's that much rivalry between the two teams. It's such an intense game, and you know, Hull FC going into this on the back of a good hiding last week, you know, just not acceptable, that result.
Proper hiding at home as well.
A proper hiding, and you know, I see them at the moment, you know, very much like I spoke about Warrington, you know, lacking that desire, you know, that they look very, you know, they're not connected with each other, and you see some of the tries that got posted past Hull FC, you know, not acceptable. And Rovers, you know, they're going to be up for it this week. There's been a lot of changes in their clubs, and as Danny Maggs, sometimes when you're playing for a new coach, it just that new impetus.
I suppose if you're connected to either the Hull clubs, you're hoping this game's going to kick-start your season, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's probably at the best time for both clubs. They need a big game, don't they, and a big performance. I think there's a fresh approach from Hull KR. They'll go in with Danny Maggs as the coach, a bit mentally fresher, and I think it's a great thing having 3 players coming in for Hull FC. They've not had that, you know, performance last week. They'll come in, they're all young, and they'll give them a bit of energy.
Well, let's hear from Hull KR's Lachlan Coote.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing and pretty sort of unexpected. I think obviously early in the year that he mentioned that he was going to be moving on, and you know, I think a few of the boys were disappointed. He's probably partly the reason why I've come to the club, and a few other guys have come to the club. So usually when a coach moves on, they leave the club in a worse state. But for Tony's sake, I don't think that's been the case. I think he's been awesome for the club and what he's produced from the players and business side of things, and created some great players to come to the club. You know, it's been awesome to work with him as well. I've enjoyed my time with him. But yeah, it's disappointing in a way, but obviously that's part of the game, isn't it? It's just obviously another whole derby. You've got to win it, compared to the KR fans mentioning. But yeah, it's exciting times. Looking forward to that Sunday afternoon clash against them, and I think we've got a lot to play for. I think we're sitting 7th and 6th. So yeah, it's going to be an eye opener and see what happens. We're obviously sitting, like I mentioned before, 6th and 7th, and we obviously want to push for those finals. Both teams are probably not in the best form at the moment, so I think hopefully this can kickstart our back end of the season and get into those into the 6th there.
A lot to play for is probably an understatement there by Lachlan Coote. So that's at 5:30 on Sunday. By the way, if you want to make your predictions, there's a Magic Weekend Predictor. It's on the Super League website. You can also see it on the Sportsman as well. Get your predictions in. Right then, Kev, what have you done for your predictions then? So Wakefield to lose.
I went to lose.
Saints Wigan.
I went Wigan.
Leeds Cass.
Leeds.
Huddersfield and Salford.
This is so close for me, but I went Giants.
Catalans Warrington.
Dragons, too big.
And the Hull Derby.
I just think Hull are mentally a bit fresher, they'll get the job done.
Yeah, you've upset all the Wakefield fans watching, haven't you? All the St Helens fans watching. Let's get Scully's predictions. I know one of them anyway.
That's the only difference between us.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
He's dropped his pom-poms.
Spot the ex-Wiganer versus the Saints.
Yes. There we are. So they're the predictions. So you can do that on the Sportsman, or you can do it on the Super League's website. Right then, it's time for Try of the Week.
Welcome to Try of the Week. I'm Ross Fiddies, and here are this week's contenders. Try number 1, Castleford at home to Huddersfield. Jake TRUEMAN slicing through the defence from dummy half. Lola here goes for the ankles, but TRUEMAN's away. Fanua's there in support, but he doesn't need it, and it's a superb solo try for Jake TRUEMAN. Try number 2, same game, but Huddersfield looking for points here. Ollie Russell with the high kick, collected well by Senior. They're still on the last tackle though. Michael Lawrence with the ball now, who passes back to Lola here. Nice footwork from him, and he goes for a cross kick to McGillvary out on the edge. Alferts comes crashing in, but did he get him in touch? Let's have a look at that in slow-mo. There's an almighty collision, but what skill from McGillvary there. It's a sensational try for the winger. To Wakefield for try number 3. Wigan on the attack here, but it's good defence from Wakefield. Harry Smith does well to pass it back to French though, who sidesteps to the left, but charges to the right. There's a gaping hole, but he changes direction again. Fends off the defence, and it's a try for Bevan French. To the Championship for try number 4. London playing at home in Kent, but it's Sheffield Eagles on the attack here. Jason Bass charging down the wing. He does well to survive an ankle tap and passes back on the inside to Tom Holmes, and he's got QLT in support, who crosses over under the post for Sheffield Eagles. Try number 5, it's Catalan versus Saints. Johnny Lomax with the ball to Batchelor, to Makinson on the edge. Lomax still in support, and it's back on the inside, but back out to Makinson, who's got space now and touches down for Saints. And finally, try number 6, it's St Helens women now. Carrie Roberts with the ball here, weaving back on the inside and dodging the Huddersfield line. She spots a gap, it's poor defence from Giants, and Roberts crashes over. 6 tries, but only 1 winner. Head to the R-League app now to vote for your favourite.
Right, get voting for Try of the Week. Right, we're running out of time. Right, Scully, I want you to sell me St Helens versus Wigan at Magic Weekend.
Mate, it sells itself. It's Saints v Wigan, and at Magic Weekend, it's such a special occasion. Great stadium at St James's Park, great atmosphere. All the other fans there as well who buy into every game. I think nobody can call the win.
And as the next Wigan player, sell me St Helens versus Wigan.
Google 2004 fight and watch him and Faz going at it. And if it's anything like that, it'll be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a brilliant weekend.
Around trying
and
to get away.
Newcastle do so welcoming as well out there. It's a brilliant weekend.
Oh, it's brilliant. And there's so many pubs and clubs and that and restaurants around it. You can fall out of the stadium and straight into a boozer. So it's brilliant for the fans. Everyone loves it and everyone gets on.
Yeah, we're all lucky enough to be going as well to Magic Weekend. So if you are going, we'll see you there.